I very clearly have issues considering I have 37 books on my October TBR. I know I'm not going to get through all these, but it's theoretically possible. I did read 37 books, I think, in the month of August. So, I mean, I guess it's possible. Let's go ahead and go through all the books that I'm going to attempt to read in October. Now, my theme for this month, because it is spooky season, is to read a lot of thrillers. So let's start with the smaller stack of books that aren't thrillers, because I do have a few from each other genre. I usually read kind of some of everything. I never stick to just one genre. So the first book that I am hoping to finally read this month is Ninth House. This book has been on my TBR for 3 months in a row now. I don't know what it is about this book that makes me just never pick it up. For some reason, it intimidates me, even though it's not even that large. I've read the entirety of the Stormlight Archive and didn't really think about it, but this for some reason just looks intimidating. I never read it, even though I know it's supposed to be so good. So hopefully October is the month. I really don't want to see this on my November TBR. We'll see. I really hope to get through this. Divine Rivals, I feel like has just been so overhyped to the point that I'm kind of scared of it. I don't even know if I'm going to attempt to read this month because I honestly just feel like it's not going to live up to the hype, but we'll see. I've heard really good things. I don't know. It's just so hyped up. Then we have The Long Game, which I'm currently in the middle of. This is a romance book, and it's pretty cute so far. It's a little on the longer side, though, and I don't think it needs to be as long as it is so far, so I don't know. I could take it or leave it at this point. One of the books I'm most excited for this month is The Wall of Ascension. This is the second book in Era 1 of Mistborn. I loved the first book so much, and I cannot wait to read this. These books have been not quite as good as Stormlight for me so far, but they're so good nonetheless, and I can't wait to dive back into this world. This is also one of the floppiest books I have ever picked up in my life, which I so appreciate because it means the spine is not going to crack when you actually read it. Love this so much. Then I'm also in the middle of reading Wreck the Halls, which is an arc by Tessa Bailey. This one comes out on the 23rd of October, and this one is really cute so far. I'm just about halfway through this book right now, and I'm really enjoying it. Then we have Alone with You in the Ether, which I don't honestly even know what this is about, but I think it's a sad romance book. I'm excited for it nonetheless. I know she also writes, what is it called? The Atlas 6, is that her? I think she also writes that book. Yeah, oh, I'm so dumb. It literally says it right here. The Atlas 6, best-selling author of the Atlas 6. Anyways, I'm excited to read this. I do have the Atlas 6 on my TBR as well. I also have the Midnight Library, which I think I might end up pushing to November. I originally wanted to read it this month, but it doesn't really fit with the spooky vibes. I've heard a lot of mixed things about this, so I'm really excited to give it a try, but I don't know that it's going to happen in October anymore. We'll have to see. All the Light We Cannot See is one that I'm so excited for. I actually got to see the first episode of the Netflix show that comes out in November. I got an early access screening to it, and it was so well done. I can't wait to watch the rest of the show, but I also hate watching shows or movies before I read the book for them. So this one I do have to read before it comes out in November, but I think I have a couple weeks in November I could read it too. So I'm not sure if I'll get to this in October or just save it for right before the show comes out. We'll see what happens. I do tend to not like to watch the show right after reading the book because then you notice all of the tiny things that are different. I feel like I enjoy movies and TV show adaptations better when there's been a little bit of time between when I read the book and when I watch the adaptation, just because then I don't notice all those nitpicky differences they make. But I don't know, I really liked the first episode, so I think it's going to be a great show, and I really need to read this. I've heard I'm going to be heartbroken by this book, but it's really worth it, so I'm ready to be destroyed. The next one is actually a graphic novel. This one is called Beautiful Darkness. I was sent this by one of my friends, and she said that it's super dark and kind of messed up, but it's a really good graphic novel, and I'm kind of here for that. I'm really excited. The artwork looks really neat, and I'm in my graphic novel era right now. I have yet to read one that I didn't enjoy, so I'm very excited for this. I'll probably breeze through this in one sitting because it's only 100 pages long, so I'm excited. I've heard it's kind of super dark though, so I'm gonna check some triggers because I don't know, I've heard mixed things about this, but I'm really excited nonetheless. A couple more romances that I was sent arcs for. We have Fly With Me, which is a queer romance about a pilot, I believe, and somebody who was on her plane. Looks really cute. And then we also have Thank You for Sharing. I don't really remember what this one is about, but it's on my list for this month because I do want to read it. I think it came out this month, or maybe it already came out last month, one or the other. But those are my last two romances. And then this book I'm so pumped for. This is The Never-Ending End of the World. And this is a sci-fi dystopian novel, I believe. It says it's Station 11 meets The Last of Us, and it's a post-apocalyptic, sci-fi epic. And I'm so excited. This is ARC edition, so when you get it normally you won't have this gray bar on it. But this was published by Campfire, which is the writing platform, and they're starting to publish books too, so this is I think the second book they published. I've heard nothing but good things about this book so far, and the premise looks incredible. I'm going to listen to this one on audio just because it is a bit on the longer side, but I cannot wait to dive into this one. Alright, we've made it to the thrillers. This is what I'm most excited to read this month. Thrillers are always my favorite genre, but I do always like to mix in everything else as well. The first one that I'm hoping to read this month, but might end up getting pushed if I don't have time, is The Fury. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. This is the author who wrote The Silent Patient, though, and I honestly was just like iffy on The Silent Patient. I didn't really love it. I predicted the ending very early on. But his writing was very good, so I think that I'm going to give this one a chance, and I think this one's going to be very good. I'm very excited. This one comes out in January, so it doesn't come out for a while. I still have a couple months to read this before it releases. Now this one I dropped the ball on a little bit because this arc came out on the 23rd of September, but this one I'm very excited for because it was a Reese book club pick for September, so this is like her monthly book club pick. And I've heard good things about it, but I've also heard some people say that it's not worth that hype, so I kind of want to just read it myself and see what my opinions are of it. I feel like it's going to be good. The premise looks very interesting, so I'm excited for it. The next one we have is Secluded Cabin Sleep 6, which I honestly see such mixed reviews about, but it seems like right up my alley. Like, it seems like a popcorn thriller just for fun. It's not going to be anything groundbreaking, but it looks really enjoyable. I'm also like unsure. This cover has like maybe rain on it, so I'm feeling like it's a fall themed thriller, but it also might be winter, and I like to go into my thrillers somewhat blind, so I might say this for winter. It says Deadly Storm, so I don't know if that's like a rainstorm like fall or like a snowstorm and I should wait till winter. I don't know. We'll see when I read this book, but I am very excited for it. Then we have The Birthday Girl, which I've honestly heard nothing about, but the cover looks so like ominous and creepy. I love the like colors of this one. I grabbed this one because it went like side by side on my bookshelf with the chain, same color scheme going on. And I've heard this book is crazy and creepy and wild, and I am here for it. I can't wait to read this one. I've heard mixed reviews of this one too, but the people who love this book like die on a hill for their love for this book, so I feel like it's definitely worth the read. I need to see if these people are right, if it really is worth that much hype. This book I've already started on audio, and it is really creepy so far. I'm enjoying it. It's called The Stranger Upstairs. It's basically about this therapist who moves into this like previously haunted house. It's a house that the previous owners, the husband unalived his wife at, and she thinks that it's just like not haunted and she's going to turn this house around, and she's a social media influencer, so she's like making a blog based on like her experiences here. And it's very creepy so far. I was like in the dark walking around my house going upstairs to grab something, and I had to turn on the light because I was like spooked because the attic in this house is what's like haunted. So it did effectively creep me out, which is like the goal with these. So I'm excited. I think this one's going to be a good one. Then we also have The Winter Sister. I actually purposely didn't read this last month. It was on my September TBR, but I wanted to save it for October because it's like spooky season, and this one's supposed to be like a really good thriller. I did read one of her other books. It's her newest book. I think it's called Thicker Than Water. I see it on my shelf over there. It's called Thicker Than Water, and I really liked that one. I like this author's writing a lot, so I'm very excited to jump into this one. I've heard this one is one of her best, I believe. Then we also have a few Riley Sager. So Riley Sager is definitely one of my favorite thriller authors. I will say he always disappoints me with his endings because they're always a little bit like too unbelievable. He takes like 2 steps too far in my opinion. I forgot to grab one of them, but I'm also reading The Final Girls by him, but the other 2 are Lock Every Door, as well as The House Across the Lake. The Final Girls should be in my hands too, and The Final Girls is a book I'm reading with a book group that I'm friends with, and this book is actually for my Discord book club that we're reading, so this is the book that everyone voted on. I'm very excited for it. I think this one has some like paranormal aspects to it too, if I'm not mistaken. I have never heard anything about this book. I'm going in completely blind with Lock Every Door, which is how I prefer it with my thrillers because I feel like it makes the reading experience so much more fun when you have like absolutely no idea what's going to be happening. So very excited for both of these, as well as Final Girls. Pretend I have that one too. We also have The Sundown Motel, which I think is like a thriller, maybe borderline horror book, and I'm really excited for it because that sounds right up my alley. And this will be my first book by Simone St. James, and this is some people's like favorite authors. They really love this person's book, so I'm excited. I really can't wait for this one. This one I've never seen anyone talk about, but it sounds so interesting, so like I don't know why people aren't talking about it. It's called At the End of Every Day, and this is like a theme park thriller where people are like being unalived at night in a theme park. It sounds so crazy and creepy, so I'm excited for this. I'll see if this needs some hype because right now there's no hype around it, so I'll read it and find out. We also have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This is my second book by her. I read her other book, I think All the Dangerous Things is what it was called, and I loved that book. So I'm very excited for this one. I hope it's just as good as that one was. This was her debut novel, so I definitely have high hopes, and I've heard that it's kind of crazy and twisted. Next up we have Daisy Darker. This one I have such high hopes for just based on how many people have recommended this book to me. I think this one's going to be really good. I'm also choosing to go into blind on this one, so I'm very excited for that. We also have No Exit, which people have been telling me to save till winter, and so if I don't have time for it, I might do that because apparently this takes place I think around Christmas time, so this might actually get pushed to like November or maybe even December if I'm feeling like pushing it till when it's snowy. But I know that his books aren't like realistic, they're just for fun. I really liked The Last Word. I think I gave like 4.25 stars. It's not the best book ever, but it's just a really fun page turner. His last book, The Last Word, was like a book that on page 5 you're already like getting almost jump scare level of twists. Like they're just really fun and fast paced. And then lastly for hardcovers, and then I still have a stack of paperbacks, we have The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Now I'm not gonna lie, this is one that I also might push off because I didn't really like the guest list, but I decided I want to give her one more chance, so I'm going to read this at some point, but I don't feel like highly motivated to do so just because the guest list was just mediocre, so we'll see if this happens this month or not. My last stack, we're almost there, is the rest of my thrillers that are paperbacks. So I do have a few Frida McFadden's. Her books are another one in the category of not like the most realistic, but they're just like super fun. So the 3 that I'm hoping to read this month are Do Not Disturb, as well as One by One, and lastly, The Perfect Sun. They're just popcorn thrillers too. They're not groundbreaking, but they're just such page turners. They're like read in one sitting type of books, which is like fantastic for spooky season. We also have The Girls in the Cabin, which is a book that I just started reading. I'm already like halfway through and I'm obsessed with this so far. It's so creepy and so spooky. And this is another one that started with like almost not plot twist, but started with really interesting stuff like page 1, and I'm just hooked at this book. So I'm really liking this. I think it's going to be a very highly rated book for me. We also have Fragments of the Lost, which is my, I think, 4th Megan Miranda book I'll read. I will say there's a learning curve to her books because they're all very slow paced, but I have enjoyed them. They're interesting and they always have pretty good twists, so I'm excited to read this one. We also have Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which I purposely put off for my September TBR as well. This one I have heard is so good, so I just wanted to read it in October instead. This one's an arc. It is called Twas the Bite Before Christmas. It comes out, I think, on the 10th of this month, and I just think it looks so cute, so I have to do everyone the service of reading this and reviewing it so that everyone else can know whether to buy this like cozy, cute mystery. I also have another Megan Collins book. She's the one who wrote The Winter Sister. This one's called The Family Plot. I think this one actually might be her most popular book, followed by The Winter Sister, but either way, I'm really excited for both of them. And then 2 more books, we're almost there. We have Watching You by Lisa Jewell. She's one of my favorite thriller authors as well. And then lastly, we have Murder in the Family, which just came out last month. This is the book that like you kind of have to be the detective. It gives you lots of different media and interviews and like TV show information, and you have to see like at what point in the book you can piece it together as like the consumer, which I find very interesting and unique. I think it'll be fun. I think it's supposed to like read almost like a true crime situation. And that's everything. I'm not even gonna try to pick them all up again, but there's like 37, 38 books on here. Absolutely ridiculous. I highly doubt I'll get through them all, but very lofty goal. I just have so many books that I'm so excited for. So we'll see by the end of the month. I'll do a reading wrap up at the end of October and share with you guys what I actually got through out of this giant pile.